You don't have to know anything about Amazon. We can teach you all of that. It's really not that difficult. But what separates those who build successful businesses from those who don't?
Back in 2015, while creating Jungle Scout, Greg hosted the first season of the $1 Million Case Study, an educational video series where we document every single step of finding a product to sell and launching it on Amazon. The goal behind this whole series was rather simple: help others learn how to sell on Amazon for free. And just by reading through a lot of the comments we've received, it's pretty clear that this case study has made a profound impact on the selling community. So as we kick off the new year, it only makes sense that today, Greg is here to share with you his top strategies for selling on Amazon in 2023. Hey Greg, thanks for being here. How's it going?
Jake, I'm great. I'm excited for our webinar today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. All right, Greg. Well, for those who don't know you yet, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Greg Mercer, the founder and CEO of Jungle Scout. I started Jungle Scout almost 8 years ago now. At the time, I was an Amazon seller myself. I had developed these algorithms of how to estimate how well all the products on Amazon were selling, and I was using that really effectively inside of my business. I was friends with lots of other sellers and parts of masterminds and things like that. And everyone was telling me, man, you have to start selling this. You have to help other sellers get these insights that you have into your business and help them. So I thought, okay, this could be a fun little side project. And that was the genesis of Jungle Scout. I was solving my own pain points or my own needs, started it as a little bit of a fun side project. And it's crazy what Jungle Scout has grown into today. We have over 500,000 customers using our product, which is nuts. Everyone from entrepreneurs who are looking to get started on Amazon all the way up to the largest brands in the entire world. At Jungle Scout, there's over 250 employees now. We're remote first, so based all over North America and even the world. Every day, all of us are waking up to work hard to help you succeed on Amazon.
Awesome. Greg, now for those who are new or existing Jungle Scout members, is there anything they can get really excited about for this upcoming year? Like anything you can kind of spoil for us or give us the inside scoop?
Yeah, we have a ton of exciting stuff coming in 2023. I think it's going to be the most exciting year in history for Jungle Scout. Over the past year, we've really grown our product and engineering team a lot to help us be able to do more improvements faster, better feature releases. There's over 100 people on our product and engineering team that are waking up every day to build stuff for you. At the core of everything we do is our big data and analytics and insights. So we drive all these really valuable types of insights that help you do everything from find your first product to understand the competitive landscape to better manage your business. So the stuff that we're doing now is really sophisticated, using a lot of machine learning and AI. It's really, really exciting. And we don't have enough time today to go into all the different things planned on our roadmap throughout the year. So you'll have to stay tuned, but we have a lot of things that I'm really, really excited about. Before we get started with the meat of today's webinar, I do want to announce that we're doing a one-time only discount to a special package that we put together. Included in this offer is our Freedom Builder Bootcamp, which is an A to Z program, everything you need to know to get started or grow your business on Amazon. It comes with the Jungle Scout software, of course, as well as through the end of the month, weekly live Q&A sessions to answer all the questions that you have. And we are offering this discount through the end of the month. A link to it is included in the description below, so you can click through to that. But I've found that with a new year, it's a great time to think about a new start. And we want to help all of you do that with getting started on Amazon.
Awesome. So Greg, before we dig into your strategies, I wanted to ask you a question that a lot of people have on their minds right now. With concerns around the economy and a potential recession, do you think right now is a good time to launch a new e-commerce business, or should potential sellers, just hold off until the economy stabilizes again?
Great question. The first thing that comes to mind for me is Amazon's economist actually released a report last week that is their projections for sales throughout 2023 and 2024. And their economists actually predict sales on Amazon to continue to grow. They do predict it to grow at a little bit slower of a rate, but they fully expect and set expectations for stockholders that 2023 will have more sales on Amazon than what 2022 did, even with a looming potential recession. So as far as demand on Amazon's concerned, there's nothing to worry about there. Now, for you, from a personal aspect, I also think it's a fantastic time to start. One is it's way easier to think of all the excuses why you shouldn't start your own business as opposed to just making the plunge. And I've heard this from working with entrepreneurs for a lot of years now. And second, the beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur and having your own business is you're in full control of your destiny or what happens with that. So, we all see the headlines of people getting laid off right now or not having as much control in their job as what maybe they used to, or not being as such of a employer-friendly environment. The amazing thing about being an entrepreneur and having your own business is you don't have to worry about that. So it's also a great way to have like redundancy or additional income as opposed to maybe your normal 9-to-5 job.
Great. It's good to hear about demand. Now, Greg, we get a lot of questions about competition. Is Amazon too saturated?
Great question. So here at Jungle Scout, we have tons and tons of data, everything that's going on Amazon. And if we look at the number of sales in a year on Amazon versus how many sellers there are, that ratio has actually stayed consistent over the past 3 or 4 years. So the number of sellers are growing, but the demand on Amazon is growing at about the same rate. So statistically, it's not any more competitive or more saturated right now or 2023 than what it has been for about the past 4 years. We also find that our customers being able to use our tools and our education and things like that do have a very high success rate. That being said, you do need to think about it as a business. This isn't some kind of get rich quick scheme. You are starting a real business. It does take work. It does take learning a lot about it, and you do need to put in the time. But I by no means believe that it's too competitive or too saturated to get started these days.
Awesome. Now, Greg, I have a question for the new sellers out there, the ones looking to get started. What do you see as the biggest challenge to doing it successfully this year, getting started on Amazon?
The one thing that I overwhelmingly hear a lot from those looking to get started is how to find the first product to sell. Now, if we just zoom out and think about Amazon, they already have a ton of consumers going and shopping on their website every single day, right? I imagine almost all of you do the same thing as I do and order pretty much everything off of Amazon. So there's already all this demand or all these shoppers on Amazon. So unlike building your own e-commerce site or Shopify store, you don't have to worry about getting them to your website. But what you do have to worry about is what they're searching for, what they're purchasing, and then how much competition you're going to have there. So in order for this business to be successful, it's really critical that you find a good product. So we're looking for something that has existing demand. We're looking for something that isn't too competitive, that you can have good margins with. So this is, the largest hurdle for most people to get started on Amazon. And the good news is this is where Jungle Scout's really, really strong, or one of the main areas that we can help you in.
Great. Well, Greg, can you show us what that looks like when you're in Jungle Scout? What tools are you using, or what filters? What's your process for finding products to sell?
Great question. Before I answer those specifics, let's just zoom out and think about this from a high level. So the best thing to do on Amazon, or what we recommend to do on Amazon, is to order goods straight from the factory. You typically find them on Alibaba, or we have a resource to help you do it inside of our product. So we want to get these straight from the source. That's how you can get the best pricing on these goods. And the way that the Amazon marketplace is built is you really want your own SKU and your own listing. And in order to do that, you need to come up with your own product with your own brand name on it. So this is typically referred to as private label. So we're ordering goods that are already being created by a factory. We're putting our brand on it. So we're creating our own brand and we're selling it on Amazon. Now, there are some types of products that works really well for, and there are other types of products that it doesn't work as well for. So let me give you a few of the ways that I like to look for these products and get these ideas. Now, if there's a certain area that you're really passionate about, feel free to look into that area. But I typically encourage new sellers to go into it with an open mind, that you're willing to sell anything out there, because that's how you can really maximize your chance of success, by looking at it from a purely data-driven aspect of, what are these customers searching for? What are good opportunities for me? What has good margins? Things like that. So to give a few examples, I'm going to dive into the Jungle Scout product database. Now, what this is we've taken all of the products on Amazon, put them into this database. We tell you how well they sell and different other types of metrics that are important for finding these good opportunities. So what you can do here is there's a lot of different ways to filter through our database. Over here, there's a bunch of categories to start. We're just going to go with all of them, but I'll give some little tips on that later. And then you can create different filters. So a few of the filters that I like to use is for beginners, there's less headaches selling standard size products versus oversized. So Amazon essentially has two different types of classifications. Standard size products are roughly the size of a shoebox. Oversized products are larger than that. Oversized products have more limits, they're more expensive to sell, and overall are just like a little bit more of a headache. So as a beginner, I would probably recommend starting with trying to find a standard size product. After that, I'm going to put a minimum price in there. We'll be recommending for you to use Amazon's FBA program, which means that they store your goods for you and then pick, pack, and ship them when a customer places the order. In order to do that, they have some minimum fees. So if you're selling a product that's less than like $15, it's really hard to make much money on it once you remove all of Amazon's fees. So I'm actually going to recommend you use a minimum price of $20 here. Now, I spoke about this a little bit earlier, but we want to sell things that customers are already searching for on Amazon. So I'm going to put in here a minimum sales of, let's say 300 units per month. That's about 10 per day. That is something with pretty good demand. Feel free to adjust this a little bit, but that's a good starting place. Now, we also want to find products that don't have too much competition. This one's a little bit more difficult to do, but different ways that you can do this is you can look for products that are selling well, even though they don't have many reviews. So I could say the max number of reviews, let's say is 50. Other ways that you could do this is you could look for products that are selling well, even though they have a poor quality listing. In order to do that, you would enter a filter in the LQS, which is our listing quality score. But let's for now just get started with the minimum price of $20, at least 300 sales with a maximum of 50 reviews. And then I have the standard tier here checked. So I can go ahead and search for this. And Jungle Scout's product database is going to come back with all of the products on Amazon that meet this particular criteria. You can see them all here. So there's 42,000 that Jungle Scout came back with. And you can see there's all different types of products in here. Everything from, it looks like some kind of cooking tool to different pieces of apparel, supplements, all kinds of stuff in here. What I recommend to do now is start to look through these different types of products. And then what I actually like to do is just go straight to Amazon and start looking at them. So here's one right here, something that I never would think of, but it is yarn. And there's lots of different types here that all seem to be selling really well, even though they don't have too many different types of reviews. And you can kind of dig into this to look at, what types are selling well. There's different colors here. There are different, looks like different sizes of this. So what you can do is you can start to search on Amazon for these different types of yarn. So let's just do, let's do this color navy yarn, and we'll see what Amazon comes up with. Then in here, you can see all different types of yarn. Some of them are navy, some of them are not. And then what's really cool to do is you can actually run our Jungle Scout extension to see the details of all of the products that are showing up on this particular page. I can get an idea of which ones are selling well, how many reviews that they have or how many ratings that they have, how well that they're rated. And what I can do from this is just get a general sense of how much demand is there for this type of product and what is the level of competition. As I mentioned before, great ways to gauge the competition are the listing quality score, as well as the number of reviews, which is written here. So this one overall, it looks like there are tons of sales for it, but I would say that it is fairly competitive, mainly based off of the number of reviews that I'm seeing here. And then the other thing that I'm kind of noticing here is some of the products are pretty inexpensive, so we wouldn't be wanting to compete with them. If we did want to move forward with this product, we would want to make sure that, like a lot of these other sellers are doing, they're packaging multiple ones of these together so that it is more expensive. So this is one example, but let's go ahead and look through here and find another example. I'll walk you through a little bit of my thinking of how I think about whether these are a high quality product or more of like a low quality product. And as I'm looking through all of these, I want to be thinking about products that are relatively easy to be manufactured or private labeled. So some examples of that are, some of these baseball caps are selling really well, but in order to manufacture a baseball cap like this with a sports team logo on it, you would have to have the licensing to do so. So we don't want to worry about products like that. Typically, I'm seeing some food items on here. Those aren't very good to get manufactured, say in China. You could look for a source for those kind of domestically, which would be okay. But for now, let's kind of skip some of those. So let's see, what else sticks out to me here? Let's look at this desk mirror here. For me, this looks like something that could be relatively easily manufactured. I also like it because, at least in my opinion, it's a little bit maybe more obscure than some of the other products. So that could indicate something that isn't as competitive as maybe things that people would think about more easily. So let's see, this is a heart-shaped desk mirror. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into Amazon. And I can see the different types of mirrors here. It looks like this one right here, I think, was the one that showed up inside of the product database. If I look at some of the other ones here, there's actually not that many of these heart-shaped mirrors for your desk. I'm seeing a couple here, but only this one in pink. Let's run the Chrome extension real quick to see how well all these are selling. There are definitely different types here. So let's see, if we look at this pink one, it looks like in the past month, that particular one has sold about 2 per day. This white colored one is pretty interesting because it has sold 2,500 in the past month. And it looks like that there is not very much competition if we scope this in, or we drill down onto this specifically for these heart-shaped mirrors. So I think this is something that would be pretty interesting to me, and I would want to dive into a little bit deeper. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with kind of how to find these products, I haven't looked for this, but we're going to do this together in real time. And what you'll see here is that it's pretty amazing, all of the products that you can find on Alibaba. So, there's different companies here that are making different types of mirrors. Here's a heart shape, but it's handheld. I'm seeing another factory up here that makes these desk shapes, but it's not heart-shaped. Desk types that aren't heart-shaped. But what you'll find is when you start reaching out or communicating with these different factories, is a lot of them, for example, this one's already making a heart-shaped desk mirror. You can typically find that they can make small modifications for you that will then kind of create the right type of one for you. And, if we look at this, okay, these things cost, let's call it $2 to $5. If I look on Amazon for how much they're selling for, close, $18, $19 here. This one's a little bit less expensive. But if you start to think about what kind of margins would be on that, if you can land this thing for $3 or $4 and you're selling it for, let's just round up and just say $20 on Amazon, that's going to be something that's going to have good margins. If we look at one of these products that were up at the top, this one stood out to me. It's a wooden herb stripping tool, which I don't know exactly what it is. I guess that's to take the leaves off your stalk of your different herbs, but it looks like it's selling about 500 units per month, and it only has 38 reviews. So what I can do is I can hop over into Amazon and take a look at it. So let's see. Yeah, it looks like I was right. That's a little thing you use to take the leaves off of your herbs. So let's just search for this herb stripping tool. And, there's the one that we were just looking at. It doesn't look like there are any other wooden ones on here. I'm seeing a few of the metal or plastic type, but I guess what's pretty interesting about this to me is this wooden one is selling for a lot more money than what these cheap plastic ones are. It looks like it's pretty easy to create or manufacture. It's a relatively simple thing. And, they only have 38 reviews, so it's a pretty new listing. especially considering that they're selling, what I say, almost 500 of those per month. So this is something that would seem pretty interesting to me. And even if you can't find a supplier on Alibaba that's already creating this particular type of thing, anyone that just does like general woodworking or just like woodworking, it looks like would be able to create this because it's a pretty simple thing. I would guess that you could probably get this made for like $1, which means that this would have really great margins on it. So this is something that would definitely be worth looking into more. Let me give you one other way that you can look for products inside of the product database. Now there's tons of ways to do it. We've actually loaded some preset filters into product database. You can look at those in here. So let's look at this one called good demand plus poor quality product. And what we're doing with these is we're finding the products on Amazon that are selling well, even though they get relatively bad reviews. Now, what I recommend you would do with these products is to create something similar, but fix them or improve the things that people are complaining about. So let's just take a look through some of these. I'm going to look for something that's what I think is relatively simple, because those are going to be ones that are going to be a little bit easier to improve. All right, so something that kind of jumped out to me here is these sumo balls for adults. So these things blow up, you put them over you play in games and run into each other, but they're selling about 300 units per month, even though their reviews are bad. So they have 3.7 star reviews. So let's open this up and see what it would take to improve these. My favorite way to do this is to jump into the bad reviews. So I'm going to dive into the 1-star reviews here and see what people are complaining about. This person said it went flat in about 10 minutes. It does not come with 2, so it has kind of a misleading listing here. Only comes with 1 ball. Let's see. Paid all this for 1 ball, even the description said 2 balls. So this one for me is, like within a few seconds, a few things that jump out to me is 1, it seems like the seams in this or the overall construction is relatively poor quality because it's deflating or popping on people. So you could work with a factory to create ones with a little bit thicker, I guess this is called PVC or whatever this plastic is. The other thing that is really easy to do is this is just a misleading listing for customers. That's why people are leaving bad reviews on it. So instead, what you can do is you can just be really clear about how many balls are included in this, or sumo balls. Alternatively, you could just include 2 per pack, because I guess if we think about it, no one wants to play with one of these sumo balls by themselves. The whole goal of it is to have 2 of them and bump into each other. So this is the type of thing that would be relatively easy to improve, better quality plastic, and then just either sell 2 of these or be really clear that it's only 1 per pack. And then what we see happen is you'll start to take away sales from this listing. Customers on Amazon or consumers on Amazon are heavily driven by the quality of the reviews that products get. So if you can come up with something that is selling well, even though it's poor quality reviews, improve it so that you get good reviews, you'll find that you'll take away like all of the sales from these listings. So those are, a few of the ways that I like to find good opportunities on Amazon using the Jungle Scout product database. Another way that you can look for product ideas on Jungle Scout is using something called the Jungle Scout Opportunity Finder. Now, in the product database, we built a database of all the products on Amazon, and you're looking at them from the standpoint of individual products. The opportunity finder, instead, it looks at like the niche as a whole, as opposed to those individual products. So I'll just run an example here. I chose a few filters. I did arts, crafts, and sewing just because those products are usually relatively simple or easy to get manufactured. I said I'm looking for products that on average sell at least 500 units per month, $20 here. And then I set the competition filter to about the center of the slider here. After making this search, it's showing me all the different types of niches or opportunities that meet that criteria. The next thing that I like to do is just kind of look through some of these to see if any of them stick out to me. Tie blanket kit, I'm not sure what that is. We can take a look at it. It looks like there are different types of throw pillar. Oh, it's these blankets that you kind of tie together. So that'd be something that'd be relatively easy to get manufactured. It looks like some of these sell pretty well, but there's also quite a few that aren't selling that many per month. So let's keep on looking through here. Let's see. Sketch set for adults. Let's look at what these are. Okay, so I guess these are just packs of art supplies designed for adults to do sketching. And if we look at these, wow, so it's like this top one is selling over 5,000 units per month, even though they only have 15 reviews. And they just launched this 3 months ago now. So that's a really good sign right there. It looks like a bunch of these other ones are also selling hundreds or thousands of units per month, a lot of them with not many reviews. So again, that's like a great sign. Yeah, this person just released theirs a couple months ago. They're already selling a few of them per day. So this is probably a good example of a type of product that would be easy to get manufactured. It sells well, and it doesn't look like there's that high of competition. And then if we just take a look at, how well these products have sold, overall, it looks like this type of product is increasing in demand. It looks like there might be some seasonality at the end of the year or at the beginning of the year, but overall, these things are selling pretty solid throughout the year. Like all throughout 2022, it's looked like, there's 1,000 units or more on average of these things being sold. So this is something that I would want to dive into more, see if I could find a manufacturer for it, look into the margins more, see if there's any areas of opportunity for me to improve. But this gives you a little bit of an idea of how you can use Jungle Scout's Opportunity Finder to find these different types of products ideas that you may not think of on your own.
Awesome. Greg, that was extremely helpful to see, what's going on in your mind as you're looking for products to sell on Amazon, especially for new sellers. But now let's transition to a question for experienced sellers, those trying to scale their brand on Amazon this year. What are some of the biggest challenges that they're going to face when trying to scale this year?
The way that I like to think about it as far as what's required to create a really great business on Amazon or scale it up or grow or be more profitable is what I like to kind of summarize into operational excellence. So those who have a great grasp of everything that's happening in their business, what's happening on Amazon, what they're doing with their advertising and their logistics, all those different types of things, which I like I said, all kind of classify into operational excellence. Those are the people who really do an excellent job scaling up or creating a really healthy business. In order to achieve this, the number one thing that I see with sellers where they're lacking or need to do a better job is around their overall kind of analytics of their business or having a better understanding of what's happening. It always amazes me how many sellers that I talk to that don't really understand how well their products are selling or what their profit margins are. There's Amazon fees and there's advertising fees and there's shipping fees and there's all these different types of things. And it's all too common for people to get kind of confused or lost about what products are actually making them money versus not, how to adjust how you think about it or adjust your pricing or advertising spend in order to kind of like optimize in those different areas. And I think that's really what's most important is, this deep understanding of what's happening in your business to achieve this kind of operational excellence.
Yeah, I think, Greg, that makes a lot of sense. We're seeing that in our business here at Jungle Scout as well personally. Looking at our metrics is very, very important. But how do you practically do that every day or every week? Or what metrics do you look at and how often do you look at them?
I strongly recommend that entrepreneurs look at these business metrics every single day because things can be pretty dynamic and it's important to keep a very good grasp on this. Now, if you're great at Excel or Google Sheets and you like doing things yourselves in spreadsheets, that's perfectly fine to do it. Inside the Jungle Scout tool, there's an analytics dashboard that makes that a lot easier. So instead of having to download all these different reports and crunch the numbers and do all that, Jungle Scout just automatically does it for you. And I give you a little bit of an idea of kind of what that looks like. So this is inside of our demo account. So we publicly launched a product, which is puppy pee pads, that's selling on Amazon. And here's some of the metrics around it. And this is actually a great example because what I'm looking at here is January compared to December. And we sold 500 units in January. So that's actually less than what we sold in December, but our margin and therefore our profit was actually up in January compared to December. So if we look at it, in January, there was $17,000 worth of sale, or 16.4 versus 17.1 before that, but our cost of goods sold actually decreased. And as a result, we made about $3,500 in January. And this is, again, just from one product versus what we did the prior month. And this analytics dashboard is cool because there's a lot of different breakdowns or a lot of different ways you can slice and dice or look at the data. So this breaks down how my costs are split up, and even my order fees. I can see what's costing me money, unit costs, how much I'm spending on PPC, different types of fees, all those different types of things. And then, I can kind of click through this and look at how my revenue changed or what the drivers of that were. Before we saw that our cost of goods sold decreased in January, and we can look at, what were the drivers of that. So our unit cost was actually a little bit less because of less shipping costs, but then there were other things like we spent less money on PPC in January and some of the other things. So this gives you like a really good understanding of what's happening with all of your products on Amazon, which is like step one or the most important thing for that operational excellence that I was talking about. And then again, we can just look through some of these different views. The PPC spend versus sales is a really valuable one. And if we want to dig into our advertising more, since that's one of the most important areas to optimize and cost drivers of the business, Jungle Scout has some really robust advertising analytics so you can understand exactly what's happening during different time periods, how it breaks down as far as organic versus ad sales and those different types of things. So, I and a lot of very successful sellers, they're diving into these dashboards every single day, looking at what are all the different cost drivers as well as what's driving the sales of their business, and then using that information to then optimize it.
Awesome. Thanks for showing us that, Greg. Now, I want to ask you a question here. What's one thing, if a seller was to take away anything from this webinar, what's the one thing they should focus on right now?
Mindset or taking action for entrepreneurs is the most important thing that you can do to be successful. You don't have to know anything about Amazon. We can teach you all of that. It's really not that difficult. But what separates those who build successful businesses from those who don't are the ones that actually take action on things and actually get started. Now, what I often find with people looking to get started selling on Amazon is it's easy to get into kind of like analysis paralysis or think that you have to know or understand everything before you can get started. What happens though when people do this is they can get overwhelmed. If you're already studying how to do advertising optimizations before you've even launched your first product, you're going to feel pretty overwhelmed and feel like there's a ton to know or a ton of things that you don't know. Instead, I highly, highly, highly recommend what I like to refer to as just-in-time learning. So don't worry about all the things that you'll worry about later in your business. What's most important right now is figuring out how to get started. We went into some of that in this. We speak a lot more about it in the Freedom Builder Bootcamp, but essentially the first step is to find that product you're going to launch, get it ordered, get it into Amazon. While the factory's making it or they're shipping it overseas into Amazon, there will be tons of time to learn more about how to create your listing and how to optimize it and how to do advertising, all those different types of things. But you don't have to do that right now. You just have to focus on those first steps, getting started. You build momentum, that will build excitement, and then the rest of it comes much more easier. So if I had one piece of advice for all of you, that's it. Get started, take that first step. No one ever regrets that they started, their own business. Let's imagine like worst case scenario, even if it doesn't work out, the amount of things that you'll learn through going through the process will be incredible and instrumental for future later life lessons. In reality, I know that the success rate of our customers is really high, so I'm not worrying about that, but it kind of helps think about what's the potential downside. And the reality of it is it's very low. So get started. There's no better time to do it than the new year. And that's definitely what I'd recommend to all of the webinar viewers, Jake.
Awesome. That's great. So one thing that I really love about that, Greg, is you mentioned earlier that you should just get right into it and learn from experience. That resonates with me. Before joining Jungle Scout, I haven't sold on Amazon before. I wanted to, but I thought I needed to learn everything before getting started. Like you mentioned, I was thinking about advertising. I was thinking about product images and all that stuff that I'd eventually learn just going through the motions. And once I started selling not too long ago, I really kicked myself for not doing it sooner, because looking at the products we sell here at Jungle Scout, like what a difference a year can make. Like speaking of the products that we launched, the washable pee pads, we launched them, I think 1.5 years ago, right before I joined on, and it's almost at 1,000 reviews. And I think to myself on the products that I've launched outside of Jungle Scout is, what would happen if I would have launched a year ago or 2 years ago? Where would I be right now? Where would my listings be right now? And I learned everything I could have possibly learned that I apply every single day just through experience. So I love that notion of just getting into it as soon as you can. Don't worry about learning, just in time learning, and just experience will be the greatest teacher. So that really resonates with me. So Greg, we mentioned earlier today, Jungle Scout has a New Year's offer, and I wanted to bring it up one more time here for those watching live, or even in the replay. This will be on YouTube a little bit longer than the live version. But we have a special offer for you. If you join now until the 31st, not only will you get a great deal, but Lenny Smith and myself will be live for 4 weeks, starting the 13th, I believe, which is a Friday, and ending the 3rd in February, where we're going to have some live Q&A sessions. So Lenny and I will be here live to answer all your questions. And this is for everybody who signs up now until the 31st, as well as existing Jungle Scout members. So I just wanted to bring that up here. If you're thinking about getting started and, like myself, you just haven't started yet, and you want a little more guidance, maybe even just like a nudge off the cliff to start, I highly recommend signing up now, taking advantage of this offer, as well as joining us in those live Q&A sessions to really ask any questions you have.
I'm glad you brought that back up, Jay, because we put together this package so that it would include everything that all of you need to get started and to remove all those hurdles. So it's the tools to do it. It's the education to do it. It's these live Q&A sessions. So with this, you should really have no excuse why you can't get started and launch an awesome business on Amazon. And that's actually one of the favorite things I've found, or the most rewarding things that I've found about running Jungle Scout, is all the entrepreneurs that we help. If you look at our YouTube, you can find a whole bunch of kind of like success stories that people have shared with us, but it's so cool to hear about people who get started and we interview them 6 or 12 months later. And it's been like there's change of trajectory on their life and all the success that they've had around it. And it's really a super special thing that I know like brings a lot of joy and happiness to me as well. So I'm stoked we put together this offer. We don't do it a lot, but kick off the new year, it seems like a great thing to do, and I hope y'all take advantage of it.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Greg, so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on. Now, if you're here live, Lenny and myself will be going live to answer all of your questions. So go ahead and drop your questions down in the chat, and we'll be answering those here shortly.
Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that presentation. Jake and I are here live to answer any questions you have, so make sure you drop them in the chat.
Yeah.
And yeah, what do you say? We get right into some questions here.
Let's get right into it. Also, just real quick, we saw a lot of questions about asking where the discount link is, and that is in the video description. So go ahead and check that out. We can actually potentially even show that on screen here. So let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
So in the description of this video, as Greg mentioned, Jungle Scout has an amazing deal that you can, really capture on right now. So when you sign up right now, you're gonna get not only an amazing deal, but tomorrow, we're actually going live again. And this is part of a 4-part live Q&A session with Lenny and I to help you get started selling on Amazon or really answer any questions you have. It will be every Friday for the next 4 weeks. So if you want more of these live Q&As, sign up immediately if you can. Otherwise, you can still take advantage of this deal until the end of this month. So go ahead and check out that link down in the description.
Absolutely. Okay, so what questions have we got here?
So many good questions. It was so hard keeping up with this. You guys did amazing asking questions. Maybe this first question here. So the question is, I'm in analysis paralysis help.
Yes, that's one of the things that Greg speaks about.
Yes, what's your top tip if someone's just trying to get started on Amazon? I've been this myself, where you just don't know where to start, or maybe you're doing product research, but you're in the stage forever. What's your advice on getting out of that?
Yeah, I mean, first I totally relate. Even when I do product research now and having done it quite a bit, you can get stuck where there's, I suppose, a lot of different ways it can happen. You could spend a long time grinding, and you feel like you're not finding anything that seems like a good opportunity, or maybe you found a bunch of different things that, but you're finding it hard to kind of decide between. So it's common. It happens to everyone. It still happens to me. In terms of like best tips to kind of get out of that, I guess you just gotta make it about the data as much as possible. Like, what other data points can you get to help you make a decision?
Yeah.
If you're trying to decide between a few different products, and you've got, sort of pros and cons for each one, I suppose like my best tip is to try to like figure out what other piece of data can I use to help me make that decision. I'm trying to think of an example here. We often talk about like demand, competition, profitability. We talk about ease of use. How simple do you think that product is to make? Seasonality. These are all good things. Sometimes if I've gone through all of those, I'll also just kind of look at like upfront capital cost as well. If I can't decide between a couple of products and they feel like they both have strengths and weaknesses, I might look and kind of go, well, which one can actually get started with for less? Therefore, it's a little bit less risk. So maybe this product A might cost me $3,000 to get started. This other one might be $4,000 in total. And if I can't decide, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go with the one that is less of a upfront amount.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's probably my best tip, is try to find something else, some other piece of data to help you get across the line.
Like choosing a metric and say, okay, whatever's the highest in that one, I'm just gonna go for it, because I do think that's important, is to just like choose an area that you want to make the decision based on. If you're doing product research for months, just figure out something. Maybe it's like, which product would you enjoy selling the most?
Yeah.
And then just make that decision, start selling it. You can always sell another product later on, but just get started. I think that's like the number one way to get out of paralysis, is if you have a list of 5 great ideas, just choose one. Hopefully you did good product research, so all 5 are great, so you can't lose.
Yeah.
Similar question that might help with this. This question is, let's see here, where did it go? It is, what type of product should we start selling? So, I think this is definitely dependent on either your product research and kind of what criteria you're looking for, whether you want to sell something in a category that you're comfortable with. So for example, I like sports and I would love to sell something in that category, in the sports and outdoors category. So potentially you can go down that route, and what would you like to sell where the data is also good. But I really just think that depends on what you're looking for. And obviously you want to make sure it has high demand, decent competition. It doesn't have to be just low competition, but not insanely high.
Yeah.
And then obviously you want it to be profitable. So, we have a full video on this, so many videos on this topic of how to choose the right product and what factors to look for. As long as your product has high demand and is profitable, that's really the only thing that matters. And of course, no legal issues or anything, like it can't be patented or anything, which is a question we'll touch on here shortly that I saw in the chat. But yeah, outside of demand, profitability, anything else that you would add on what products you should sell?
No, I mean, I think those high level is the main things. And then really, as long as you're sort of ticking those boxes and what you said about not infringing on any patents or, no legal issues, then, you can really sell anything from most categories. There are like, I mentioned it before, but I'd look at things like ease of use. Like, is it something that's like fairly simple to make, or has it got a lot of moving parts? I'd stay away from things that have lots of moving parts. Or maybe it's electrical, which just means there's more risk of that problem, of that product having problems.
Good question. And I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of more product research related questions in here. So, okay, this is a similar question from Shane. The question is, what is an average investment to start after all the fees? So this one's, totally dependent on so many factors. I think the most important one is like, how much money do you have, or how much money are you willing or comfortable sort of placing a bet on your business. And it is a good bet. In the long term, it will be a good bet. But I think how much money do you have or comfortable spending is the first question I'd ask. And then two, what's your strategy? Do you want to, are you really confident with the product and do you want to go all in on it? Or do you want to start to test it out and then therefore you would spend significantly less starting it?
Yeah.
From our experience with the product that we launched in the $1 Million Case Study, which is a whole playlist here on YouTube you can watch, I think we spent around $5,000 is rounding up, but on just the inventory.
Yeah.
And then additional like $3,000 on nice to have things that you certainly don't need, like brand registry, so getting a trademark. You don't necessarily need that right away. And then things like,
we spend a lot on product photography as well. You could definitely get it cheaper or do it yourself to start with.
And even the inventory, we bought $5,000 of inventory, which was like 500 units. But the product cost was like $11 per unit. And that's not insanely high, but a lot of people are able to get products under $10, so that could have been significantly cheaper as well.
Yeah, it was a little higher than maybe your typical product. And to kind of give you, but I do think like $5,000 is a good amount. I would say, and there's no hard rules here, but I would say that like $3,000 is probably like a minimum. You can get started for less than that, but I think you're just going to struggle more to find a product, or if you do, you're going to probably run out fairly quickly. So just ballpark, I would say aim to have at least $3,000 to $5,000 to get started.
Yeah.
The more you have started, basically, the better off you're going to be, because you'll be able to stay in stock and kind of keep that momentum up of getting sales, reviews, and increasing your rankings.
Also, that's like another question too, is like, what's your goal? So if your goal was to stay in stock the whole time, you might want to spend $3,000 to $5,000 minimum. But if you're okay with going out of stock for the first, 6 months, a year even, like you're just trying to really test the market, you don't have that much money to spend, it's okay to go out of stock. It's not ideal, but if you don't have the money to spend, don't be afraid of going out of stock. Don't let that be the thing stopping you. So if money is an issue, you can always start slow, or you can even do another business model like wholesale, arbitrage, some other ones like KDP or merch on demand or Amazon merch are low-cost ways of getting started.
That's kind of like an interesting point, and like let's say that it was going to take you, like Lenny says, you need $4,000 to get started, and then let's say that takes you another 4 or 5 months to save up that amount. Maybe you've got $500 right now, but it'll take you another like 4 months to get the rest of that money. I think if you have that money, you're going to have a more successful start, or you're going to be able to keep up that momentum. But I think there is something to be said for like, okay, if you've only got $500, maybe, you should get started now. You're definitely going to run out of stock, but you're validating that it's a good idea, and then you still need another 3-4 months to like save up more money, but you've actually validated that this product idea works, and you've got the listing set up and everything. So I think that is, definitely a valid approach.
Absolutely. Got a question that just came in, and I want to address this one because, what we're saying could be confused. So like, the question is this just for private label, your software?
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. A lot of people are using Jungle Scout for wholesaling, arbitrage, even like influencer marketing, trying to see what products are selling well on Amazon so that you know which ones to go after. And definitely not just for private label. We definitely talk mostly about private label, but everything we're mentioning today could be applied to other business models as well.
Definitely.
Okay, what other questions seem to stick out here? So
cool. There was one about like how many units to get started with, which is maybe a good one.
Yeah, so very similar to the question.
Kind of similar about like how much money should you have up front. I think this is actually maybe a better way to look at it, is like how many units should I order, because that's really going to dictate how much that you need to get started with. I would say the ideal amount would be to have, say, 3 months worth of inventory. That would allow you to get started selling, make some money back, and use that money to get another order, and ideally have another order come in before you run out of stock from the first inventory. So I think an ideal situation would be to have at least 3 months worth of inventory. So you might be wondering, well, what is that number? How many units is that? That's where you can use, Jungle Scout to help you figure out how many units you should be selling. I would go to Amazon, type in the name of the product that you're looking for, just to use our product as an example, to be washable pee pads for dogs. And then you can run the Jungle Scout extension. That's gonna tell you how many monthly units all of those top listings are doing. And over time, your goal should be to match the same number of units that the top sellers are making per month. Let's say they're selling 500 units per month. That should be your goal. If you can reach that same sales velocity of 500 units per month, then you've got a good chance of matching the rank or outranking the people that are on page 1. So yeah, if you want to compete, win page 1 on your top keywords, then you want to be trying to get your sales velocity to the same level. And so the extension can tell you, okay, on average, this is how many units per month all of my competitors make in my niche. And then I would use that number. I'm going to use 500 and say like, okay, ideally I would have, say, 1,500 units, have 3 months worth of inventory. You're probably not going to hit that same sales velocity immediately, but that's what I would use as a reference when you're trying to calculate how much you should order. If you can't afford 3 months, then I would at least, aim for 1 month's worth of inventory and go, okay, I'll at least want to get 500 units to get started. So again, the key theme here is just like get started.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like what I would use as a benchmark. Aim for like 1 to 3 months worth of inventory.
Good advice. Great. Here's a question here I wanted to show our screen for. So the question is, please find the best parameter for a 100% winning product. And, while we certainly can't, describe or tell you the best filters to use that will always work, here's like what we do. So let me show the screen here. This is Opportunity Finder, a product research tool in Jungle Scout. So if you're thinking about getting started on Amazon or even with Jungle Scout, let me show you a real quick way of using this tool to find good products to sell. So what I have opened here is Opportunity Finder, and I went ahead and already took away some categories here. So these are categories like baby, beauty, clothing, and anything electronic that typically, I wouldn't want to sell in because there's a lot of reasons not to. With clothing, a lot of returns. It's really hard to maintain inventory, and with electronics, those are really not only just competitive, but they break easily. So that's why I remove them from here. And then in terms of trying to find the best products, these are where these filters come in. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna add 300 as our minimum monthly sales filter. And so that will find us products that are selling on Amazon at least 10 sales per day, which is what we define as a high demand product here. Then what you can do for competition is you could bring this all the way down to low or even very low. But I like to usually just keep it at like a medium level, and then you can always refine. That way you're not totally getting rid of ideas that potentially could still be good. And then for seasonality, that is when I do drop down to low. Another filter we like to use is the minimum and maximum monthly prices here. So anything under $20 is going to be, in most cases, hard to make a profit on, especially as Amazon continues to increase their fees like they're doing this year. And then, you can even put like a max in here. We've been testing around like 75 because, when you start selling products that are hundreds of dollars, it's going to be very hard to convince, shoppers to buy your product when it has 0 reviews when you start. Something else you can do is this 30 and 90 day search volume trend. You can enter 1 as the minimum, and that will now show you products in the last 90 days that are trending upwards by at least 1%. So any product that we get from this list that I'm now going to click search for will be products that are trending. And it's got to verify that I'm not a robot here. So
everyone thinks you're a robot.
Everyone thinks I'm a robot. Okay, so it totally just took our filters away because it made me re-verify that. But let me really quickly do this. Any other thoughts, Lenny, while I'm setting this up again on like what filters you like to use, whether it's on this tool or any other tool that Jungle Scout has here?
No, I think you kind of covered it all. I like to experiment with the filters a bit. I think we like to share some best practices, which you just did here. And I think those are some like really great ones to start with, but then I'd encourage everyone just to kind of experiment and play with some different ones as well. And if you need some ideas, you can actually go up to load filter set, and we've got some presets there that you can play around with. And I'd encourage you to, try each one of these, look at some results, and then tweak them. So yeah, definitely play around with the presets there.
So you created one here, Lenny's Faves.
I don't remember what that is.
So you can save your own filters too,
Yeah.
which is really fun. It saves you a bunch of time when you're just doing this every week or every day even. So now as I click search here, we're gonna have a list of about 2,000 results, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And this is where you could go through the list here and refine to get that list down. So for example, World Cup. We wouldn't want to sell anything related to World Cup because it's obviously only trending because the World Cup just happened.
And you can verify that as well. So I think that's like kind of a cool example here.
Yes. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Just by the sales. I mean, it's blown up in last December, but any other time it's under.
So yeah, we're looking back at 2 years here, and then I'm sure it's going to be a similar story with like seasonality.
People might have been buying it early ahead of time.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
Interesting.
some news broke out around then, or
Yeah.
media hype around that.
Probably
moment.
likely something similar with like search volume as
Oh,
well. Yeah, so this information is invaluable in helping you understand, is this something that is sticking around, or is this just kind of a seasonal trend? So obviously you can quickly see from this data that, yeah, this has only just blown up recently. So yeah, definitely good to look at that data.
There's not that many other World Cup mentions here, but if there were, I'd actually just exclude the word World Cup,
Yeah.
just to get it out of there for good. And then this is when you continue to like use these filters here. You can even add in list. These are niches, by the way. So you're actually able to use this top products tab over here and see the actual products that we're talking about with that niche. So this is just one of the many ways to find good products using Jungle Scout. And if you're on the edge, again, use that link in the description below to get a really good deal.
Awesome. All right, so we'll look at some next questions here.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe this one on reviews or...
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a good question and something that every seller should be like thinking about is how do you get reviews, or specifically how do you get reviews without Amazon brand registry? Well, the good news is you don't need Amazon brand registry in order to get reviews. It does unlock some additional ways that you can get views, such as the Vine program. I'm pretty sure you need to be brand registered in order to access that one. That's where you pay $200 and then you can give away, I believe it's up to 30 units of your product to Amazon's top, what they call Vine reviewers. And these are, the top reviewers on Amazon. They just about always leave really high quality, very detailed reviews. And you can give away your units. The Vine reviewers can claim them, and they'll typically write you a really great review, which is super helpful when you get started.
Just a quick note on that, it might not just be a good review too. Like they'll write detailed reviews, but it could be a bad review. So that's why it is a little 50-50. So you have to be really confident in your product before you do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you're not guaranteed a great review. The idea is that they give you an honest review. Typically, I've seen, at least from my experience, they've been, good reviews, but it does depend on your product. So you obviously want to make sure that that's great to begin with. But specifically, if you don't have brand registry yet, I'd recommend getting it at some point. But if you don't have it, you can still get lots of reviews. And probably the best way to do that is to use a tool like Jungle Scout's review automation. And so what we do here with just like one click of the button, we automate the process of the request a review feature on Seller Central. If you're not familiar with that, you can go into your orders and then click onto each order, and then with a few clicks of the button, you can request a review, or Amazon will send out their own email, their own template. They'll request a review from your customer. Now, doing this manually, you can do it without Jungle Scout, but it's a very tedious task you have to go through. There's like a number of clicks to go through each individual order. However, with Jungle Scout, you can actually just do that with one click here. So you just you literally just turn on review automation in like a couple of seconds here. That's turned on, and now Jungle Scout's going to automate that process that's happening over on Seller Central, and we've seen this greatly increase the number of reviews that people get when they're using this tool, purely just because they're being asked, and it's all It's all complies with Amazon's TOS because Amazon is the one doing it. Jungle Scout's not requesting it. We're just automating the process of clicking through your orders page. So this is the number one way I recommend getting reviews if you don't have brand registry.
Also, real quick, just wanted to show our listing here. So we got about, what are we at now? We're almost at like 1,000 reviews. And in our first year, almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
But we only got, I think, 5 reviews from the Vine program. We don't even do product inserts. That's another great way to get reviews. And to be honest, we probably should be taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
But we actually haven't. That's the truth. So these 920 ratings here that we've gotten in less than 2 years are coming out as a result of asking or automating the review process. So asking customers to leave a review. And as we've scaled up, we're selling anywhere from 10 to 40 units a day, depending on our advertising efforts at the time. And as you scale up, it's going to take a lot of time to go through and manually request those reviews in Seller Central. So that's why this tool definitely comes in handy, especially as you start scaling up.
Definitely. All right, what do we got next?
All right. So we got a question here about excess inventory, which I thought was a good question. So Lucas asked, what happens with your excess inventory if it stops selling? And I'm assuming you have it in Amazon FBA warehouses.
Yeah.
Where you're going to be getting a lot of storage fees. So you're obviously going to pay the regular storage fees, but then there's 2 different tiers of long-term storage fees that you're going to pay. There's a long-term storage fee that's, I think, past a year. But then they recently introduced a new tier last year where it's between, I probably have the days wrong on this, but between day 165 and 300 or something like that, you'll pay slightly more than the regular storage cost. So, if you're not selling anymore and you have a bunch of excess inventory and you don't want to sell that inventory, you can ask Amazon to dispose of it or send it back to you or wherever, address that you can send it to.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a few different liquidating options there. Yeah. So yeah, you can definitely get it sent back to you if you feel like you can sell it through other channels or you can sell it manually. And then in terms of liquidating, you can get Amazon to dispose of it. I think there's a liquidation option where you can get paid for some of those units, or you get it paid a certain amount, so you get something back.
Yeah.
And then I think, is there also a donation type?
I believe you should be able to donate it,
as well.
Yeah. There could be some tax benefits there that I'm not too familiar on, but you could be able to donate it as well. Yeah. Okay. Got a question here about keywords. So the question is, I'm struggling with keywords and getting my listing to the top. So Lenny, when it comes to keywords, applying those to your listings, maybe it's even with advertising, but keywords in general, what's your top advice?
Yeah. I'm trying to think how to tackle this. Without knowing what sort of work you've done, Gabriel, I'm just going to, kind of go back to basics. Some of the top ways to get your best keywords is using a tool like Jungle Scout. We've got our Keyword Scout tool where you input your main keyword, and then it'll tell you all the most relevant keywords for your product. And it'll give you all of the search volume as well, so that you can kind of see exactly what keywords are going to be the best ones to target. So using a tool like Jungle Scout is really going to help you do that. So this is what it looks like here. So just keeping it super simple, we've just typed in the name of our product, pee pads for dogs. And then as we've typed that in, we can see how much search volume that gets. And then we can see all of the related keywords here, puppy pads, puppy playpen, etc. And then you can go essentially organize these, save these in your own keyword lists. And then basically you want to make sure that you're using all of these top keywords in your listing. It's going to be weighted heavier in your title than your bullet points and your description. So making sure you're using all your keywords there. Another way to get keywords is to be running automatic campaigns on Amazon. So if you're running automatic campaigns, that's where Amazon is going to be testing your product on lots of different keywords or what they think are the best keywords. And that's a great way to sort of mine different keywords that could be really good for your product. You can go into the search term report after that's been running, a week or a good amount of time there and start collecting keyword data there. So those are probably a couple of the top ways to get keywords. And then, in terms of helping you get ranking, I've mentioned one of them. You want to make sure that those top keywords are in your listing. And then the other way, of course, is like taking those best keywords and putting them into manual PPC campaigns and advertising on them. So yeah, I think high level, making sure you're using the right keywords in your listing and making sure that you're advertising on them, because the more sales and conversions you get on those keywords, the higher you're going to rank in those rankings. I don't know, anything you want to add there?
Yeah, I think one little like tip here is if you're using the best keywords, right? Like we just showed on Keyword Scout here, all the keywords that were ranked from highest to lowest in search volume, those are obviously going to be the most competitive keywords. So what you could do is you can use a tool like Keyword Scout to identify long tail keywords. So keywords that are going to be less competitive. They may not be the #1 keyword in terms of search volume and demand, but it could be a good happy medium between demand in terms of how many people are actually searching for it and the competition for it. So for example, we sell washable pee pads for dogs. Our #1 keyword is puppy pads or pee pads, these really small words that people just easily type into Amazon as a shopper. But what we know is the washable pee pads for dogs, which is like 5 or 6 words there, is significantly cheaper to spend on in terms of advertising and easier for us to rank on. So because we used a tool like Keyword Scout to identify keywords that have a minimum of 5 words in them, that helped us really lower our costs and then rank on these keywords that while they're not the #1 and 2 highest ranked keywords in terms of search volume, they're helping us rank on those. So I guess identifying other keywords outside just like the top 5 would be a great strategy to tackle, and then put those into your title, especially, and then like Lenny said, all throughout your listing and with your PPC campaigns.
Yeah.
Good question.
Great.
All right, so let's see what other questions here.
Cool. Maybe the 1 versus 2.
Oh yeah, good question here.
Cool. Question here from Blue Olive Beauty. Is it better to start with 1 product or 2 or more? That's really going to be up to the person. My recommendation, if you're just starting out, I would definitely just go with 1. You're just going to be learning so much that first time around that, most people typically make mistakes their first time around, or it's just they learn how to do things a lot better. So I would take the pressure off and just launch 1 product. I don't actually know about taking the pressure off. There is a lot of work involved even just launching 1 product. So that would be my recommendation. If you feel incredibly confident, if it's up to you. If you think that if you've got the capital and you feel really confident and you really understand the process, you've watched a ton of these videos, seen other people do it, then sure, you might want to consider it. But probably the other maybe important reason why I would say just stick to 1 is that you probably need more money than you think to successfully launch it. I would rather put all of my available capital into 1 product and just not run out of stock than try to sell 2 products and then you end up running out of stock and you're playing catch up where you're struggling to get more inventory in and you're like trying to get this one to sell so that you get money to like get the other one back in. I would rather have 1 really successful launch and this product doesn't lose momentum, doesn't run out of stock. So that's probably the other reason why I'd encourage you to get 1 product is, to put all of your capital into that one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think one like exception even, or something you should do in product research, and I can speak from experience on this. Let's say you're looking at a product idea, and just using an easy example like a t-shirt, where a lot of people aren't the same size, right? So they're gonna click, they like your design, for example, and they click on the listing, but there's only a medium there, but they're a large or a small. That might be an idea to maybe launch the same product, but different variations of it, so that when you do win that click from a shopper, that you're converting on it a little bit better. So a t-shirt or clothing is a good example of that. But when you're doing product research, what you can do is just look at the competition around you, as many as you can. Are they varying, or do they just have 1 product? And if you're finding a bunch of competitors who that you can verify with data, like with Jungle Scout, that they're doing very well, like their sales are really high, despite having just 1 variation or just 1 product, then that gives you confidence that you don't need to variate. But then the other way around, if a lot of your competitors are variating, you may want to try to launch another variation with it, but still the same exact product. But do that as part of your product research.
Yep, makes sense.
Seen this question a lot, Lenny. I felt like we should mention it here. So the question is, with the master bundle, does it come with the course and the class? So absolutely.
Yes.
With the link down in the description, you're gonna get on a landing page here for our New Year's deal. So these are not only great deals that you can save on, but in this master bundle over here, this is the Freedom Builder Bootcamp. So for this price here, you're gonna get the software. You're also gonna get the full training with Greg. It's a great deal. Highly recommend it. It's gonna teach you A to Z how to sell on Amazon. Every single step, you learn how to not just use Jungle Scout tools, but actually get started selling on Amazon. It's not just how to use Jungle Scout, it's how to sell on Amazon.
Yeah.
Coming from Greg himself. So
It's actually, a really great deal. That's normally $1,000 just by itself. So getting that as well as Jungle Scout is like an incredible deal there.
yep, you get awesome, everybody gets customer support, but you'll get a little faster VIP support there as well. And it's our professional plan. So, you get 6 users you can add on. The highest level of data and storage that you can have with Jungle Scout. You can track 1,000 products, which is more than enough. And yeah, definitely recommend checking out. Again, link down in the description. And as we mentioned, if you sign up today, or I think like by tomorrow, or by tomorrow morning, then you'll be able to join our 4 live Q&A sessions with Lenny and I. The first one begins tomorrow. You can still sign up this deal the rest of the month, but we do start those live Q&A sessions tomorrow. They're once a week on Fridays for the next 4 weeks. So yeah, check out the link down in the description.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Let's see
Okay,
here.
what do we got?
This is a good question here. So, a lot of new sellers are watching today, Lenny.
Yeah.
And this question is, I think, very timely. Is, what would you say is the biggest reason, like one reason, why a lot of people fail when they launch their first product?
For me, I feel like it's not having enough profitability. Expenses on Amazon can fluctuate. Things can crop up in your business, and you end up incurring more costs than you anticipated. I think a lot of people end up sacrificing on their profit margins, and eventually that product ends up failing just because there's not enough margin there to kind of like sustain or grow their business quickly. Like they might be getting a little bit of profit, but not growing it really quickly. So I think like lacking profitability, and then the other one might be like lacking demand. Could be the other one.
What, any tips there? Like, so, demand, I feel like it's not easy, but like it's easier to identify what you need to do. You just need to find products that are consistently selling strong over time on Amazon.
Yeah.
So you might find a product that sells really well off Amazon, but on Amazon, if you're using an Amazon specific tool like Jungle Scout and you see it's not selling well, that's a very easy kind of like mindset change. So with profitability, this one's harder because you really don't always know the true numbers before you place your bet. Like with Jungle Scout, you'll be able to know things like the Amazon fees, the product costs once you reach out to suppliers. Advertising cost is something that you can start to bake in, but you'll never truly know the number until you start selling on Amazon yourself. But any like tips? Like what would you say if like someone's trying to get started selling on Amazon and they say, okay, I just need to be profitable. That's the one thing Jake and Lenny are telling me to do outside of demand. Like what should they do practically?
Yeah, so of course Jungle Scout can give you a lot of the initial information. You can look at other similar listings and you can see this is what people are selling the product for. Let's say lots of people are selling it for $30, so I could do that too. Great. You can use Jungle Scout to see how much the Amazon FBA fees. That's typically like a third of your costs is going to go to like Amazon fees. You can see that with Jungle Scout. So great, you know that. Now the other main cost that you need to figure out is what's your landed cost, which just means the product cost plus the shipping cost. That's going to be the biggest expense otherwise that you're going to have. There's some other expenses, PPC and other miscellaneous things, but your landed cost is the biggest one. And so here, Jungle Scout can't tell you that. That's where you need to contact suppliers. Oh, okay. And Siri's actually telling us how to do this. Just settle down, Siri. Reach out to multiple suppliers for your product. I would at least recommend like 4 to 5 suppliers, actually reach out to like at least 5 to 10 suppliers and aim to get back at least like 5 different quotes from suppliers. I typically aim to order 3 different samples as well. But basically you want to get as many quotes from suppliers as possible to figure out what is the average cost for this product in the market, and then try to find the best supplier from there. So that way you can then lock in like, okay, I know how much this product's gonna cost. It's gonna be like $4 per unit. Then the other part of that is the shipping. And this is where I'd encourage you to get lots of different shipping quotes. We've actually got a video that breaks down all the different ways that you can ship your product into Amazon. There's some options that include Amazon. You can have your own freight forwarder. You can get your supplier to organize their freight forwarder. And essentially, the video in a nutshell is like collect quotes from all of them so that you can understand all of the ranges of shipping prices and how long each one is. And so, yeah, pretty much what I'm saying here is get lots and lots of quotes for your product and your shipping. That way, you can be really confident that you understand this is how much my landed cost is. It's going to be $5 for my landed cost. It's going to be $5 in FBA fees. And then, you know, you would be aiming to get at least that same amount back in profit. So it's like, okay, I want to sell for at least $15 so that I can take home $5. My product costs $5 and Amazon will take, you know, another $5. So that's how I'd approach it, is just make sure you're, you know, really locking in all your product and shipping costs.
Awesome.
And then it's fairly easy to kind of figure out what you need to be selling at in order to have a good profit margin.
Yeah, you describe it really well. If you haven't seen already, go ahead and check out on our channel. It's on the homepage, you can find it. It's our Ultimate How to Sell on Amazon guide for beginners. And in that video, Lenny does a great job at breaking down the rule of thirds and how much you should shoot for in terms of the Amazon fees, the landed cost, and then how much you should expect to get as profit in return. So this is the video here on our YouTube channel. It's the Ultimate How to Sell on Amazon guide, and just highly recommend checking out on our channel. It's his first video here. Or you can even watch Lenny's product research section there as well. And then we have this live Q&A here directly answering questions from that video. So check out that video if you haven't already, just for more explanation about profitability.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay, so
Let's see. Oops. Awesome. So let's see. The question here is, hey, I found a niche where the average price is 14 and I'm looking to sell it much higher at like 24, so $10 more. Would you advise for or against that?
Yeah, I guess it depends whether you know, does that niche have room for a more premium product, or like basically what are you gonna do to bridge that gap in value? Like, why should someone pay £24 versus when they can get it for 14? Like, what are you offering? Are you sort of like bundling extra items in there, or is this like a much more premium version? I guess you have to kind of answer like, what are you doing to you know, justify that cost? And if you're trying to figure that out, that can be tricky. I guess it depends on the niche. Like some niches you can see, like, okay, this is clearly a gift item, and you know, that might lend itself more to like, okay, I think I could make a premium version and people would buy it. But if you can go into the reviews, for example, or the questions on those listings, and if you can find anything in there to sort of like help back up your decision to release a more expensive product, like if you go into the questions and people, I don't know, they're like, oh, I really wish that this, I don't know, had this other product with it, or you know, going into like the frequently bought with section is a good way to find products to bundle it with. And if every listing or lots of those listings are always bundled with or bought with something else, then yeah, I think that's a good use case to kind of like just bundle those together in your product and increase the price.
And you can always increase the price over time too. Like if your goal price is $24, you can always start low to get that sales momentum going, and then obviously you want to get reviews, and then eventually do exactly what we did and increase your price to a much more sustainable profit margin price. So, you know, when we started selling the pee pads, it was around like $20, and that was like, correct me if I'm wrong here, like basically like a loss. But we were just
that was like break even, sometimes slightly
with advertising. It was probably a loss. And then eventually we scaled it up to like, I think we're at like $34 or $32 now. And we even started selling at $36 when we were running out of inventory. We're like, let's just keep increasing the price, see if people will buy as we're going out of stock. And they did. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting as well because that is beyond the sort of average price or that's beyond the price that I initially thought that we would be getting to. So you mentioned we started at $20, but essentially like $29.99 or $30 was sort of the average price for people that were selling, you know, an equivalent product. So in my mind, I always thought that that was what we were going to get up to. But it's actually been really interesting that we've been selling beyond that. So we have been selling a little bit higher than other people in our niche. And still selling. So it definitely is possible. In terms of final thoughts, I guess I'd be careful how much higher you go. Like if you're the only one at 24 pounds and everyone else is at 14, I don't know, it might be a little bit of an uphill battle if no one else has done that before. It'd be kind of nice if at least there was, you know, let's say there's like 1 or 2 listings on the high end and the majority of people are in the middle, then I think it's sort of like at least validates that you can sell at those higher prices. Plus that way Jungle Scout can also tell you this is how much everyone at the average price is making, and then this is how much these more premium, higher price products are making. And then you can kind of look at that and see, well, where do I want to be positioned relative? So it is kind of nice if someone has already done that. But if you're going to be the first, you're just going to make sure that you're delivering enough value.
Yeah. I think one thing you could research outside of the more important thing is what can you do to make the product better. Research on Google premium branding or premium marketing. It's a really interesting hole you can get down. Is if you can communicate that you do have a better product than your competitors, that's a whole other reason that customers will want to buy from you. So in addition to making the product actually better, just think about the branding as well and making it premium.
Yep.
Awesome. Right. Good question. Got another one here, Lenny from Richard. The question is, if a product shows low competition at first, but then after you choose it and eventually sell it, it shows high competition, is it still okay to get into? The beginning of product research, you're like, oh, sweet, low competition. You wait a couple weeks, a lot of other sellers apparently are starting to sell it, or the data changes because maybe it's seasonal, and it's high competition. What do you say?
Actually, I think we've sort of tackled this before, but unfortunately, that is just kind of like the part of the game. It's you know, something that is a great opportunity now or has like lower competition now it is most likely going to increase in competition. Generally, I just wouldn't let that stop me, as we've talked about before. You know, we prioritize demand first. Like you just have to have demand because you can't create demand that isn't there. But you know, more moderate to higher levels of competition, whilst you don't ideally want that, it is possible to compete with them and stand out. So if the competition levels are increasing a bit, I would still consider moving forward with it. But it's more so if, you know, it was losing demand or the demand wasn't there, that's when I would consider moving on to a different product.
Awesome. Okay, so Cindy asks a question. Hi, I'd like to know how to investigate the cleaning product. So maybe trying to sell cleaning products. I try to search on Jungle Scout, but there's no information. So let me show you. But you potentially, you know, or you can use Jungle Scout in so many ways, and you can customize it. So let me show you real quick in Jungle Scout how to find, you know, any type of product. So what we showed earlier is how to use one of our product research tools, Opportunity Finder. And what we did is we entered a bunch of different categories, and we started from data first. We're like, data, hey, data, tell us what we should sell. But if you know what you want to sell, like maybe you want to sell cleaning products, one thing you can do is enter this information in here and then add include keywords, and then just write clean, for example. You want to find cleaning products, and you know, put a bunch of different metrics in here. So it's probably why I'm not only getting more than one niche here, but if I lighten up on a lot of these metrics here, you can use the Opportunity Finder to include keywords. Another great way is just using the extension. So you can do product research, cleaning. Let's go cleaning supplies since Amazon's recommending it. You can do product research outside of the web tool. You can just use the extension, and I love it for this. So it's for a lot of people, it's more practical because you're on Amazon, maybe shopping already, and just pull up the extension here, and just like before, you can filter results. We can come up here and say, show me all the products that are $20 minimum. net profit even. Like you just want to ensure that this is outside of your landing cost. So consider Jungle Scout doesn't know how much these products are paying their manufacturers for. But you can enter like a minimum there. Minimum sales, we'll do 300 just to match. And then ratings is how we would do competition. So maybe you just want to find the products that have under 200 reviews as the max there. So you can go ahead and click apply. There's always different filters as well. And then the extension will show you a bunch of data like it's not doing right now. So got to lighten up on a lot of this metrics here, or a lot of these filters here. Maybe take ratings out of it. And so, for example, here are some cleaning products, yet they are really big products. Like, wouldn't compete with O-Cedar or Glad. But this is another way that you can use Jungle Scout to customize what you want to look for. So there's definitely the idea of starting from data first, and then starting from what you want to sell, and just looking at the data to find sub niches and different ways to differentiate the product. So yeah, definitely use Jungle Scout in those ways if you aren't already.
Cool. Good little demo there.
Cool. Pull up another question here.
Yeah. Let's see. So many great questions. Thanks for dropping them in, everyone. Trying to keep up. Cool. I mean, maybe we could take this one about the trademark here. So, Champs Muscle Movers asks, at what time during the manufacturing process do I start my trademark? So, if you're wanting to get a trademark in order to get brand registry, then I'm trying to think how to explain this. You really want to have, if you're planning to launch with brand registry, you really want to have brand registry before you create your listing. I think maybe you can change it afterwards, but I think it's like a lot easier just to like create a brand new listing, input your brand. I feel like you probably, I don't know, I've never done this where you just, start a listing without brand registry and you put in the NA or whatever it is, and then you edit that later. I suppose that probably is possible.
You can apply for a GTIN exemption is what it's called. But
right.
Like you said, if you're in the manufacturing process, I think if you have the funds to do it, that would probably be the best, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just going to be the easiest, cleanest thing would be to kind of have brand registry before you like create your listing. It's got it from the beginning. If you're in the manufacturing process, I think that's okay if you haven't gone through the trademark process, or what we recommend is actually using Amazon's IP Accelerator program, because that will actually that's the only way that this would work if you want brand registry for your product and you're manufacturing it. If you use Amazon's IP Accelerator program, you can get in within a few weeks without your trademark having completely gone through the whole process. So using the IP Accelerator can make that possible. Then once you've created your listing, you would then, you would need to create your listing in order to be able to send your product in. It kind of has to be created at that point so that you can create a shipment and get your product sent in. So you can do that while you're manufacturing, but then you can't move forward, obviously, with sending your product in until you've created your listing. So it is possible to do it whilst you're manufacturing, but you obviously will need to have that completed by the time your product is ready to ship.
Yeah. Good question, though. I'm sure we'll have more trademark questions, because those are always tricky. So here's a good question from Oliver. The question is, should we aim to sell similar types of products and create a brand, like in a certain category or niche, or can they be very different to each other?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts? Because, we obviously do the latter. We sell different products right now, but there's totally an argument to be made for creating a brand, and it's a good one.
Yeah, I was actually at an event for the last couple of days, and this is like one of the common conversations about, which one should you do. Yeah. I don't think either one's necessarily right or wrong. I think there are pros and cons to both, but I do think I'm leaning more and more towards having products in and around a brand. Yeah. It depends on your goal. If you're just looking to make money and run this business, then it probably doesn't matter. If you're someone that's actually planning to exit out of this business, you want to build it, sell it off in a few years or whatever, then you're probably going to get a higher valuation by having it more in and around a brand. That being said, your brand could be a brand that sells lots of different products, which is something you should do anyway. If you're wanting to take advantage of brand registry, you don't want to be registering multiple brands, as that cost is going to add up. So you're better off having more of a universal brand, which is actually what we did. Previously, before you had to pay for a trademark in order to get brand registry, we, registered separate brands for our products. So we had Jungle Sticks and we had Jungle Snugs just for separate products. But then when Amazon introduced this thing where you have to pay for your trademark, etc., that's when we decided to go ahead and get Jungle Creations registered, because now any product that we sell in the future, even if it has nothing to do with the washable pee pads, we can put it all under that one brand. So yeah, I don't know if I've really answered the question. I would say maybe see if you can build in and around a brand, but yeah, I guess I don't have a super strong opinion on it because I can see it both ways.
I think you said it best. What's your goal? Do you just want to sell the best products and make a bunch of money, or try to make a lot of money, or do you want to create a brand? And a lot of people love creating brands, and there's no wrong answer there. So it just depends on how you want to go about it. The first way is like just using data. Like if you have a brand like we do, like Jungle Creations, it allows us to do product research and sell anything. That's going to be a good opportunity at the time, rather than the pet supplies category is a great category, and we would find a lot of products in there. But then we would be limited if we had a brand name like Jungle Pet Supplies or something like that.
Yeah.
So up to you and your preference, but there's no wrong answer.
Cool.
Let's see here. If you see any.
Yeah, maybe there's one up about wholesale that we could answer real quickly. That one there, Felicia.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It's a question from Felicia. I'm stuck on finding a good product that gives me a good margin, doing wholesale, and most of the products are sold by Amazon, so there's more competition. What would you advise? Yeah, essentially, I think, that's why we typically talk a lot about private label, is that I think wholesale has been a really great opportunity. We know lots of people that have and are still successful with wholesaling, but we have heard and seen that, it is getting a lot harder. Either, these companies themselves are now selling on Amazon, or they've got someone to help them do it, or it's just essentially become more competitive in the wholesale space. Which is why we sort of recommend and talk about private label. And in your case, that's what I'd recommend, is if you're finding it tough to get really good profit margins in wholesale, I would definitely consider private label and kind of go through the process that we've been talking about and that Greg shared earlier in trying to find and create your own private label brand.
There are some tools too, if you're using Jungle Scout, that you can filter out all the products that are sold by Amazon. So that's something that we've talked about in our wholesale videos. If you haven't seen those, go to our channel. We have 2 videos right now, pretty recent, about wholesale. And in both of those, I believe we talk about the strategy of just getting rid of any product idea that Amazon's already selling. And with Jungle Scout, you can do that in our product database tool, or even in the extension, you can just filter out Amazon as the seller. So there are smarter ways too to find good wholesale products. But like Lenny said, I definitely recommend checking out private label to create your own brand.
Okay.
Good question. Let's see here. So, Lenny, this question here: when you're looking at a niche with several different varieties of the same product, do you look at the niche as a whole, or just the particular product you're trying to sell? So, I'm trying to think. Maybe there's another way of interpreting this, but like you're looking at a product like pee pads, for example, and there's a type of pee pad out there. Are you looking at just that very particular sub-market, or are you expanding your reach to basically the broader product itself?
Yeah, that's a good question. What I would do in that instance is I would take that keyword and I would put it into Keyword Scout. And what that's going to tell you, it's going to give you all of the related keywords. And what I'm looking for is I'd be trying to figure out, are people searching for the specific sub-niche or not? So
Right.
I think of, I'm trying to think of a specific product, but like sometimes maybe in like the home and kitchen category, you might have a products where it's like all of them are like wood, but then there's like a glass version or something.
Okay.
And the question I'd be trying to ask is like, are people searching for, I don't know, glass, I don't know, bowls versus everyone else that's like a wooden bowl.
Right.
It's like, are people just typing in bowl, or are people typing in wooden bowl and glass bowl? And I would go to Keyword Scout to see, is there search volume for these very specific, like sort of sub niches? If there is, then I would go, oh, now I can sort of niche down from the really competitive niche, and I can like target this one keyword because I can see that like 3,000 people a month are searching for this particular type of product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like starting big and then narrowing down.
Yeah.
Like that.
Because that's what that's similar to our niche, because there's, I think, much bigger than, washable pee pads for dogs is really big, but then I think even bigger than that is like puppy pads, and that's the big thing that everyone searches for. But within that, reusable or washable pee pads are sort of a smaller market within the bigger one. It's still big, but it's maybe an example of this.
Awesome. Question from Gary about patents. So Gary asked, can you resell a product that has an expired patent? I think we talked about this earlier. So you can, technically, you can tell when the patent is expired, anyone can sell it. The only thing to kind of keep in mind is, one, is it trademarked or copyrighted still?
Yeah.
Which are two totally different things outside of the patent. So double check that you're not just gonna sell a non-patented product, but that it's non-trademarked or copywritten. But then, if it just expired, maybe potentially you don't know what the other guy's doing that had the patent, so you could, you might out of nowhere, if you buy a bunch of inventory, just wake up one day and you see it is patent. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah.
But you can sell it technically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a couple more questions here before we wrap it up for today.
Yeah. Just a reminder, guys, we're gonna be going live again tomorrow, but this will be a private call for those who sign up with a new Jungle Scout account or existing members as well. So use that link down in the description to sign up for Jungle Scout.
Yeah.
Let's see. Maybe this one?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
going to keep it on product research here. So,
Yeah.
Fun5825 asks, hi, as an absolute beginner, how many hours approximately do you think one needs to put in during the product research phase, and about how many weeks may that take? What do you think, or what's been your experience most recently?
Yeah, with how long it can take, it totally depends. I think that any number I say is going to be arbitrary and random, so it could take 3 weeks, it could take 3 months, it could take a year. I don't think you should take a year on it. Really, at some point, you just need to make a decision. Hopefully based on data, and so you found a good product idea. For example, like when we found the washable pee pads, it didn't take us too much longer once we ran all the numbers to just start selling it. So if you found a good product where the numbers back it up, again, it's profitable. You can verify the competition, but then the profitability is the big thing as well. If you can verify that, just getting started is the hardest thing. It's so easy to use tools like Jungle Scout and type in filters and find products and add them to your product tracker and keep track of them and think about selling on Amazon, but it's hard to actually do it. So once you I can't stress enough just actually doing it. So pick a product. And again, I'm not really answering the question, but I don't think there's a real answer to it. I would say at least a few weeks, but if you're doing it every day, that could just be a couple weeks. So any other thoughts?
I don't think there's a specific answer, but I do have an opinion here, and I feel like it shouldn't take more than a few weeks.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is that I think if it starts to drag on more than a few weeks, the other consideration that I think is really important is just like your motivation and excitement for this. If this starts dragging out over months, it's going to probably be hard to kind of muster up the work ethic and the motivation to keep going. I feel like if you're actively spending at least an hour a day on this, and you're focused and you're really doing this, not half-heartedly, but you're actively doing this for let's say an hour a day. I feel like if you've been doing this for 2 or 3 weeks, you should have some good product ideas by that point. I feel like it shouldn't take longer than that. There might be some exceptions, again, it's Sometimes you might just stumble upon an amazing product on day one. Other times it might take a little bit longer, but I would say as like a rule of thumb, aim to not go more than like a few weeks or a month.
And would you say that's just for like the analyzing ideas, like the numbers? Because there's also things like outside of your control that take time, like getting a sample, getting quotes from suppliers where you're waiting on people's responses. Are you mostly referring to like the work you put in on like the computer?
Correct, yeah. Okay. I'm not referring to, I'm basically saying like after this few weeks or within a month of doing this every day for an hour a day, I think you should be able to get to the point where you've got a short list of maybe like 10 product ideas that are pretty good, and then you've like narrowed it down to maybe like the top 3 products that, based off of all of the information that you can access so far, seem like pretty good opportunities. At that point, you can be getting specific quotes from suppliers, which should help validate, or that's what I would use to help narrow down that list of 5 to 10 ideas down to like the top 2 or 3, and basically be ready to order samples.
Good, awesome. Wanted to touch on this real quick because this is really important. I've seen it asked a few times. Timothy is asking, my business partner and I, we already have a Jungle Scout Pro account or just a Jungle Scout account in general. How can we get the Freedom Builder Bootcamp separately? So this applies to everybody. If you have a Jungle Scout account, and I'm going to show it real quick here again with the link down in the description, you'll see a few different options of ways to sign up with Jungle Scout and get a great deal. This is part of our New Year's deal, so you'll save a lot of money and you'll be part of our live Q&A sessions that are private. But in this master bundle here is the boot camp. So if you're a new member, you can sign up and it's an amazing deal. You get the software as well as the training from Greg. But if you're an existing member, just reach out to support. So you can come down here or you can email. It's probably easier to use this question mark icon when you're logged into your account. Contact support and they'll get you hooked up on Freedom Builder Bootcamp if you're an existing member. So this goes for both new and existing members. You can take advantage of Freedom Builder Bootcamp in the deal. Yeah, good question. Awesome.
Alrighty, well, we're going to wrap it up there for today. But again, a reminder that starting tomorrow for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be hosting private live Q&As just like this. It'll actually be on a Zoom call, so you actually have the opportunity to ask us questions directly if you've got them. So if you've got any questions you want access to us to answer your questions with Jungle Scout or selling on Amazon, then highly encourage you to get started today. As Greg mentioned in the presentation, now is the best time, or there's never been a better time to get started. It's been super exciting, like watching Seller Central develop in particular over the last year or so. They've been adding a lot more features. There's just like a lot of stuff happening in the space that make it even more exciting and make it even better for people that are selling on Amazon. So definitely take advantage of Jungle Scout's special New Year's offer, and hopefully we might see some of you on our live or our private training starting tomorrow. But links down in the description. Thanks so much for joining today. Thank you all for the questions. It's been a pleasure being here and answering those. If they have given you some value, then let us know by giving us a thumbs up on this video. The replay of this session is going to remain on YouTube, so you can come back and watch it again. But thanks again for watching, and we'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.